checked online and on Zillow, and it basically told me that my home is worth $700,000. That's right? Because it's Zillow.
Because it's Zillow, huh? Well, you know, it tells a lot of people their homes are above $1 million when really, you know, they're not. Sites like Zillow and other websites basically spit out some value that, of course, they use some type of calculation to figure that out. But at the end of the day, the best way to determine value is to have a professional over to your home to check it out. Obviously, the first thing to consider is the properties around you, right? What they're selling for, what price, are they comparable to yours? Most likely, you know, you have to compare apples to oranges because not all houses are the same. So at the end of the day, we have to figure out the condition, compare that. We have to compare things such as views. You know, you heard the phrase $1 million view, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so there's some homes that have views, some that don't, and Zillow doesn't take those type of things into consideration, right? So at the end of the day, you have to take all those things into consideration, the square footage of the home, and curb appeal. I mean, it's something that a computer cannot tell whether it has curb appeal or it doesn't have curb appeal. So by having a professional over and checking out the home, then they could see everything, consider all the factors, compare apples to oranges, and then determine the price. So you never know, Sydney. I mean, your property may be worth $700,000, or maybe worth $800,000, maybe worth $600,000, right? But that's basically how you determine value of a home.
Got it. And just kidding, guys. I didn't really go on Zillow and check. But this is why we have Voltaire Lepe here from Lepe Tendwell Properties. And the topic that we'll be discussing today is how to determine the value of your home. And today we are going to be talking about how do you determine the value of your home when you're ready to sell. And I am joined by none other than Voltaire Lepe, who is the CEO of Lepe Tendwell Properties. 14 years of real estate experience, and no one better than him that can tell you how to start this off. I know that starting to sell your home is a really extensive process, and you've named out a few tips for your home sellers, and we wanted to start off with how do you determine the value of your home before you sell? And I know that the internet now provides different websites like Zillow where you can kind of type in your home property and it'll tell you how much the home's worth. But we're starting to see that that really might not be the accurate way to do it. And you have some awesome tips and I'd like you to share them with us. So where does one start with determining the value of their home? So you say call a real estate agent because they're the experts, but what are some of the things that real estate agents factor in the process of determining what the value of your home is?
Of course, thanks. That's a good question. So a good real estate agent would factor in some of these following things in order to determine the overall value of the home. Okay, number one is the sales comparables, the properties that have sold around the subject property. Now, a lot of agents like to also choose active properties that haven't sold. Okay, we call that fantasy land because they haven't sold. You know, the next door neighbor is asking $1 million and the property's in the hood. You know, it's just, it's not realistic, right? It's fantasy land. So we like to look at reality, which is the actual sold sales. Okay, so we grab those, and then from there, we look specifically at different characteristics that separate them, and then we determine value from there. So one thing is the condition of the property. You know, some are in great condition, some are beat up, they haven't done any upgrades in the last 20 to 30 years, so that's gonna be a huge factor in determining the value of the home. The next thing is the size, okay? The size of the home, so the square footage. It's a little bit difficult to compare a 1,000 square foot home with a 2,500 square foot home, okay? But that's why we choose specific sales comps that match up with the size of the home, okay? The next one is the bedrooms and baths, okay? So if you have a 3-bedroom home and a 5-bedroom home, then you have to compensate for those extra 2 bedrooms, or a 2-bath home and a 4-bath home. You have to compensate for those bathrooms, okay? For those extra rooms that are missing. So we have to factor those in, okay? Another thing that we do and look at is the curb appeal. Just like, we talked about before, is we got to figure out, how does the home feel to someone when they first see it? You know, do they want to...
What's its vibe?
Yeah, what's its vibe, exactly, right? Do they want to overpay for it, or do they just, I'll buy it if it's a deal, right? So curb appeal is huge, and a lot of agents don't give it enough credit, okay? They're just looking at numbers and they don't really take into consideration the reality of walking into a home or looking at it from the curb, right? Next thing is views, right? Obviously a property that has views of a nice canyon or a nice park, it's gonna be worth more than a property that has a view of the next door neighbor, you know, swimming in their pool.
We want a panoramic of the ocean, right guys?
Right, exactly. So that's a huge factor, is the views. The next thing is other factors such as maybe tenants in place, right? A property that has a tenant on a long-term lease, you know, 2-3 year deal, even if it's a 1 year deal or month to month, doesn't matter. It's gonna have a huge, I guess, consequence really to the seller, because number one, it's hard to get into a property and show with tenants inside. Number two, the condition that the tenants left it in. It's just like getting a rental car. How do you treat a rental car when you drive?
I treat it well. I can't speak for other people, but I treat it well.
Right. So, you know, unfortunately, properties that have tenants, you know, it's just, they're not in as great shape as ones that don't. So all these factors put together determines the value of a home, and unfortunately, websites like Zillow and others, you know, they just can't determine all those factors and put it all together for the home seller and determine value. So basically, that's how you would determine the value of a home.
Awesome. Well, as Voltaire said, Zillow really doesn't put all of those aspects or factors into selling a home, but he does. So as a homeowner, if I'm looking to sell my home, what's my next step after that?
As a homeowner, you have to give a professional a call. You know, if you're serious about selling your home or possibly refinancing your house and you need the value of your home, you know, give us a call. Give Lepe Tendwell a call. We do free market evaluations of your home at no charge, no obligation. So just give a Lepe Tendwell agent a phone call and we'll take care of you.
And if you liked learning about how to determine the value of your home, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Lepe Tendwell Properties. Like our video, leave us any comments, and ask us any questions. We're happy to answer them. Thanks for watching.